we are, that means myself and Florian, are from the IT department, and all starts here. In the south of Vienna, we had a very big plant which are doing bricks. And this is the mindset in every mindset of the people all over the world. Wienerberger is doing bricks. We are very big, especially in the Nordics for pipe life. We are in the Dutch area. We are in the Belgium area with Coramic. We have a very, very big foundation of bricks, which is, yeah, it's a similar product. It's a brick. nothing important, but the system changes. We have to change our business models, and in the past we are almost 200 years old now, and what makes us strong? We had a very good foundation. We make a very super product, which is a brick, and yeah, that's only a brick, sorry. That's nothing high sophisticated, but that was a brick, and we did the whole Vienna. We built with the architects built with our product the Ringstraße, that means the whole first district of Vienna. We are 150 years listed in the stock exchange of Austria, and we started with a sustainability growth. That means we start to acquire companies. We were big in Austria, but we want to be big in Europe, and we did a sustainability growth. We started to merge and do some merchant acquisitions. Our big acquisition was Coramic in Belgium. We did Pipe Life in Austria, and especially also in Nordics. We are very big in the pipe life industry in the Nordics. That means in Norway, in Finland, and in Sweden. And we're starting to expand our business also in the Western European region. And yeah, we have about now 7,000 employees, and we have about 210 plants all over the world. We are starting our focus market is especially in Europe, but we are going to expand as well in the North America and Canada, as well in India. That means we have a good foundation, but the problem is in the year 2000, about 2000, it starts with the crisis, 2010 and 2008 start with the crisis, but we had a very good foundation. We have very big acquisitions and so on and so forth, but we are doing bricks, nothing more. We are doing bricks and pipes and almost pavers and so on and so forth. But this ends. We have to switch our mindset. That means we have to change our business model. And what has this to do with Mendix? At the moment, nothing. But we have to switch our mindset. We are a very, very decentral company. That means every plant is doing their own IT stuff. But we have to consolidate everything. That means we have to switch also the mindset of this old thinking company and old thinking people, because they want to have the IT, they're using the IT as an operator. I want to have SAP, I want to have this function call, I want to have this program. IT, do it. Please do it, and don't ask, do it. And it was a total wrong approach. We have to switch to the digitalization. We did and start then to transform our business models and also our company. The IT becomes from a product-orientated company the shift was from a product-orientated company into a product-orientated company. That means IT is not an operator anymore. That would become a business provider. That means we are providing services for our customers. That means the internal customers, and they have to see us as a supplier who is providing platforms and products. And herefore, we used also Mendix, but first we start with the transformation, and especially then for our showroom applications, what we developed in Mendix. Then Florian, my full stack developer, is here, who is giving a little bit of introduction in this kind of application what we deployed at the moment. You can see here our share from a house. As I mentioned before, we are producing bricks, pipes, and pavers, and we have about a share of a house of 5%. And that's nothing, because normally in Austria, a house costs about 300,000 euros, and our share here, or what is our value out of it, is about 5%. We have to increase our share, our, what's this? Okay. we have to increase our value out of it. That means we have to switch to services. We had the great idea also to provide some digitalization into our services, and here is one aspect out of it. We produce, as I mentioned, we produce bricks and pipes, and we mentioned, okay, let's do a transformation, switch from a product-orientated into a service-orientated company, and provide other tools, like we have Smart Reneo now in place, we have our smart pumping stations, which is in Norway, and do a little bit of digitalization there, and then do also services out of it. We're not selling only the product, we are selling the product and the service to make the maintenance, to do a little bit of IoT in, and do the maintenance of this product. And herefore, we're using Mendix. You can see here also in the UK, we have a very, UK is our main market, because we are also our bricks. We are doing facing bricks, we are doing normal bricks, and we started to make it digital. That means we have a whole development area where you can design your house in an application, bring it then to the architect, say, hey, this is my house. And in the future, the architect takes the house and press the button. Then the house would be then rendered and developed, and the plan, the whole map is generated, and then the robot came and built your house. It's the future. But we want to go to this. This is our solution. We want to provide not only bricks, we want to provide the whole house. With all the pre-wired topics in the bricks, you don't have to do all the pipes, the electric pipes, and so on and so forth. Everything would be done in advance. And this is our main goal, to have it. And what are the steps to this? The step is the digital improvement process, then the digital customer engagement. That means the customer must stay in the focus, and then we used to have scalable solutions. And we did the transformation first. We made an organizational change. That means we started with a product ownership in the corporate IT department. We made out of a regional organization a central organization, which are providing scalable solutions, scalable products to force the business to use the best out of the group. And this was our steps, and here we are now. We have in mind that the customer must stay in the focus, but here we use Mendix for. That means we are starting to implement together with the business applications, which is in a low-code thinking, that they understand what they are going to program. Then we have every time we have our key pillars there, what we want to achieve. We started in 2018 with the transformation. We are now here in the middle of in the end of 2019 and 2020. We do the experimentation. That means we use the apps which we provided from Mendix, from other different systems, like we have SAP in place. We started with C4C, we started with Commerce Cloud, we start with sub-cloud platform, and provide products, platforms to bring it into the business and get the best out of it. All for this, we need the IT department, and these are our main focus, especially in our IT department. We want to have a central solution team, central product owners which are responsible for one product. We want to have one IT operation model. That means we have to go to the market, that is the regional setup, but they are reporting then directly into the central department. I will come to this later. We want to be a trusted advisor. We want to be a trusted supplier or partner for the business, and we want to have also strategic partners in place. We had a very big landscape of partners, and we want to get rid of all the small mama and papa partners and stay focused, stay scalable into a strategic partner. And this is here, for example, in the low-code thinking Mendix. We're not one, but the same. That means this is our organizational setup, what we achieved. We have here our central functions. We established a lot of products. Started from in the SAP department, we used products as we used processes, end-to-end processes as products. That means we have here as a product owner, order to cash, that's our product. We have purchase to pay as a product. We have the SAP in the customer engagement. We have C4C as a product. We have Adobe platform. Here we have a product. And we have the business owner as a counterpart on the business side. That means we have two businesses which are the main focus businesses, that are the piping solution and the billing solutions. And we have a counterpart for the product owner also in the business as a business owner. That means we have two business owners and we have one product owner. They sit together and they develop the products, especially they are doing new products. And we have in the regional setup, we established 4 regions: the Western region, the Central region, the Northeastern region, and the North America region, which has the similar structure like we have it in the Central region. We have the IT market owner that's almost in the infrastructure side, and we have the business solution expert which are doing the operation model. That means we have our Wienerberger heartbeat. That means we have a clear structured meeting structure where we are doing constantly meetings, 14 days meetings. The product owner from order to cash has a meeting bi-weekly with the business solution experts in the region to get aligned, to get all the projects and products in a proper way to report it to the product owner. Yeah. And especially now we are on the Mendix event. This was almost a general setup. And we start with the transformation, and we use also Mendix as a tool. And I did kind of regional setup here as well. I did also a trial or a tryout to make a DevOps team in a virtual perspective. That means I take from every country, this is the setup of the Western region for our first application. I take the best developers, I move to the countries, and I saw to the people what are in Wienerberger, and so we have a lot of good potentials there. I take from the Western region a sub-developer, an architect, that would be me, then also a data scientist and a second developer, and Florian, he is part of my team, did the virtual team and started to develop. And it was sufficient, it was good. And he used Mendix for the showroom app, and he gives you then a short introduction into this showroom application that's almost a customer, a CRM, almost CRM application. And I started with this kind of setup, and it works. The developers got an idea where we have to go. The developers can start to do new things, because the problem was they are only doing ABAP development, they are doing Excels, they are doing Visual Basic, they are doing blah, 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 because we have a whole landscape of shadow IT and so on and so forth. They are doing .NET applications, and now they got the perspective. we use the developer to bring it into the central organizations. They are still staying in the business, but in a virtual team, they are staying into the central organization. That means they bring the spirit from the product ownership also in the regions. And this is our main approach, what we achieved in the last 1.5 years.
This is what you mean with 1 day per week. So they are taken, so they are 4 days a week
in the business, in their operation topics, and 80-20, that's the percentage. And here we have also, for this showroom app, we have 1 day from this developer a week. We have this developer, the full stack developer has the main part, and yeah, architects. And also we have some external support because we need it for the sub-development and for the topics there. Yeah, any other questions for the transformation? We can have then a bi-weekly chat anyway afterwards. And if not, then I will hand over to...
How long have you been trying doing this setup specifically?
We started in summer with this setup. The concept was there last year during the transformation, during we started the transformation, but the execution was this year together with Mendix. And we used Mendix not to develop applications, we used Mendix to start the transformation on the DevOps side. That's a total different approach. Normally, I talked with Fabian, and he mentioned that they are producing applications and then do the organizational setup behind it, also afterwards. But my approach is we are starting with the processes, then go to the organization, and then use the tool. And I use the tool to the organization first, and not doing development of all the applications.
So how did the people in the different teams, the different developers, how did they respond to this change in process? Was it difficult to change their mindset?
No, because we selected the people there.
Selected all the people who liked it?
Correct. No, you need to have an open mindset. You need to be not young. You have to have this young mindset to do agile development, to do development in a different way than before, and this mindset we need, and this was the prerequisite to start with this virtual team. And in Wienerberger, as I mentioned before, we have 17,000 employees, and there must be good developers.
Just a general question from the context. Whose problem are you trying to solve? The problem of the business user who doesn't get...
Both. We have our product, and the product owner is responsible for the product. He is doing the product development in a proper way, but he receives the demand from the business. And they are designing the product together. That means the end ownership is on the product owner side.
No, I actually meant by introducing Mendix. I mean, you can do development together with a prospective user in a Scrum team, right?
Yes.
So the Mendix is supposed to solve some additional problem, meaning either shorten the time till the app is developed, or free up the developer from doing Excel, something else. What was the primary goal to introduce Mendix?
The primary goal was to bring the business closer to the product, to the IT department. It has nothing to do directly with Mendix. This has only to do with the mindset of the people, that the business understands what the developer is doing. And also we give the rights also to the business that say, hey, you can do the development. Do it together with the product owner. Make our iFlows, not iFlows, iFlows is the wrong system, the microflows, and saw what happened in the back end. And you can do it. You can do, for example, this simply adding a purchase order and stuff like that. You can do it in a proper way. And this was the nice thing, as in our experiences, in our meetings together with the business was, I need this and this and this demand, and Florian did it in the meeting on the fly. That means he changed the flows, the microflows, and so on and so forth. And this gives the power to enable the business to get closer to the IT department. Does this answer this question?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds to me like more communication tool.
Correct.
To enable the business to understand the pain of being a developer.
Correct. And this was my approach in the back end. It's a totally different approach that Mendix is providing to you. I use the tool to get the transformation. I don't use the tool to do fast development at the moment.
That's coming.
So, but have I right understand that this team is not building the app?
Sure, this team is building the app. This team is building the app because we need a sub-developer. We need a full-stack developer like Florian. He did the preparation out of it, and then the team sit together with the product owner and the business owner to develop the app in special.
But when I see here the amount of days, then I think that they are not often sitting together to work on something.
Sure. But we have two totally tiny apps, and this is the power of Mendix. It's easier to do it also in this proper way.
But I think your question and your question also ties back to what you said earlier about your steps of plans, where you are in terms of the transformation.
Correct.
So the first part is getting people in that mindset of transformation.
And build the foundation out of it.
Yeah, build a foundation, and then you can
Make a code factory out of
yeah,
it.
You can use Mendix to just scale it up and execute, because everyone's in the same mindset. So everyone knows that the communication, and the first part of what he says is that's extremely important, is the communication between the business and the developers, understanding each other, what they need from both sides. Once you have that understanding, you can go, you can run,
Yes.
you can build whatever you want.
Yep.
If you have that small amount of time, and you say you build some tiny apps, how many apps do you have? Or how big is an app?
We have 2 productive apps, and Florian is going to present one of those applications there. And yeah, we have at the moment 2 productive apps in place. I don't know if they are big or not, to be honest. they are doing this is a hybrid form. The first app is a hybrid form which interact together with the SAP system in the backend, who is doing almost a CRM system front end to go in. For example, Florian will give you the introduction, but the purpose of this application, what we are going to show you in a bit, is to go into our showroom. Then you have the iPad, and then you scan our products, and then you have the full transparency. What is the customer wants to have, and then bring it into the SAP if he wants to buy it. It's a tiny app for me, but as I mentioned before, I didn't use the Mendix to develop fast, to have code factory in purpose. I will use the tool to do the transformation in the IT department. Any other questions? Yeah.
Can you explain me, maybe I'm wrong, right? You need transformation, special cases. That's you transform your main business, like industrial business, to the IT. So business owner is just person who especially know everything about, for example,
Correct.
rigs, and you use this guy like source to the main app. For example, app is your product, like in some future.
Is our product, yes, sure.
And this person just like one source, like full stack developer like Florian or the other, to develop app on the baseline of this like source.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yes, definitely. And we are getting a business provider from the IT department. We are providing the products out of it. We are providing the digital factory. We are providing some kind of BIM technologies and so on and so forth. We are providing new platforms, new web platforms which are integrated into the whole BIM technology as a building information model technology and so on and so forth. And this is our product from the corporate IT department. We are not only IT, we have our CIDO, which is corporate IT and digitalization. And those are our products, but still we have the foundation, we have SAP in place, we have the customer, we have C4C in place, we have Analytics Cloud in place, we have the normal IT topics which are almost operated, but we have to change also their mindset to provide solutions and not act as an operator. And if the business comes to you and say, I need this set report, I need this set report, and the IT is doing that, no. The IT says, okay, you have this demand and you have this demand, we can do it in this way. It's not your way, that's my way. Yes?
If I understood correctly, the main benefit you got is the way of rapid prototyping together with business, the collaboration between business and
Correct.
IT,
And
and
also
going after that on production relatively
correct.
quickly.
Yes, correct.
My question is, did you use anything else before, like online or offline prototyping tools or something?
No.
When
We
up with what needs to be done?
not in the company Wienerberger. I did it before because I was also in that. Huh?
Specific project, for example, for those two apps.
No, we are doing only on scratch programming. We tried out this tool from SAP. I don't know how it's called, this design tool, but that works not proper, and it was not our need to do it. But then we saw Mendix because it was very easy to understand for the business, and then we also evaluated from Microsoft this Power Apps, I guess it's the tool, and that was not such good as Mendix was, and this was our decision. Then we go with Mendix. We have only a 1-year contract at the moment to try out, but we are exceeding our contract in for the next year, also with the same amount of users, because it works pretty well. Any other questions? Yeah.
From my question, it's more about the structure.
Mhm.
Is it discussed about that you can, for example, generate new company, which especially IT, like startup or something, or maybe the apps based on your like main business, and after that you merge in one housing, for example, or why, and from that, why you choose in-house developing beside this type of.
Because we have the problems with, we have everything, every development would be done externally. That means external in the local regions and external from suppliers. And the problem was we didn't have the code ownership. And also if we have it internally in a local region, if the developer left the company, especially in the eastern region, they left the company and the know-how is away. And now we said, okay, we want to have the know-how in-house and in a proper way that we can document. Yes, thank you. Document how is the app developed, and this was the reason why we want to have it in a central organization. Anything else? Good. Then Florian.
Yeah, I think we have to change microphone. Yeah. Ja, guten Abend auch von meiner Seite. My name is Florian, and basically I'm more or less the whole Mendix development team at the moment at Wienerberger. And so I will give you some more information about the technical part, also about our integrated systems, and the whole architecture behind that. Yeah, since we are very SAP branded, you could say, we have the SAP Cloud platform as our central cloud in place. And from there on, we integrate all other cloud systems we have. So, for example, from IBM, Microsoft, Amazon, whatever we need. Simply web services or some REST interface that is available. And also, of course, we want to integrate our local ERP systems in this case. And this can be done, for example, with the Cloud Connector, which is a tool from SAP that enables you to create some sort of tunnel between the cloud and your local environment. So you're able to access your local databases, for example, or your local logic from the cloud and from the applications that are deployed in that cloud. And yet you have the whole user management and security features. Of course, we also connected our Microsoft Active Directory via some kind of trust configuration on the cloud. And yeah, since we now have that central, powerful cloud in place, which is the SAP Cloud Platform, of course, we now deploy our Mendix application on that cloud, because so we can benefit from all the connected services, from the integration we have, from our user management, and so on. Yeah, and at the moment we have more or less two applications in productive, which is first of all the forecasting tool, which enables each plant to make their material forecasts for the next 1 or 2 months. It depends on the plant. And then we aggregate all that forecasts, we sum them up, we make some grouping based on material types, product types, and then we have some kind of reports and information we show to one global purchaser, which then can make, talks to the suppliers and get, of course, better prices, because we know more or less exactly which amounts of material are needed in which location. Yeah, this is the first application, and the second one is the digital showroom. We have 2 showrooms in place, where the visitors can simply look at all the different materials and products we have, and then also provide some information about themselves, for example, about the project they want to create, so which kind of building they build, or which type of material they're interested in, and on which partners they have. So do they have an architect we know, for example, because then, of course, we can inform the architect, hey, your customer visited our showroom, he had interest in this and this and this. And at the moment, or before we had the application, an employee followed the visitor around the showroom and simply had a piece of paper and a pen and wrote everything down. At the end of the day, or once a week or every 2 weeks, an employee has to enter this information manually into the system, which of course takes a lot of time, and also it's quite easy to make a mistake by simply re-entering the information. And so the idea was to provide a web application that can be, for example, used on an iPad. And now the employee can follow the visitor with his iPad, directly inputs the information into the system, and then we can do some kind of follow-up for the visitor, for example, or inform the partner, so the architect, like I said. And also, of course, we then have information about their projects, what they want to build, which materials they're interested in, and then we can generate reports, make some kind of trend analytics out of that, so that we know in which region which material is very interesting for the visitor. This application looks something like that. So we have the SAP Fiori theme in place, which is very easy to integrate in the Mendix application, because there's a predefined theme package, I think it's called. And the idea behind that is to have one standardized and global look and feel across all applications, and also across all different platforms we have. So all our applications look the same, they feel the same, and if the user knows how to interact with one application, he more or less knows where to find which information in some other application as well. So it's more or less some kind of digital input interface, where you can add the information about the visitor and his building and so on. And then also we, as Manfred already mentioned, included a feature to directly scan products. So we have a little QR code on the product in the showroom, and we can simply scan that. So this is much easier, of course, than to search it in the database. And to make the data we have available in the organization, and also for global usage, we integrated the SAP Marketing Cloud, where we simply used some of the available web services to synchronize some product information, for example, or information about the visitors and their interactions with our partners, and then we can make some more analytics on that, or also the follow-up is done via that platform. And yeah, this is basically more or less our architecture we have in place and our systems we use at the moment. Of course, we plan to integrate much more systems in the future. So, is there anything specific you want to know on that topic? Because this was the end of the technical part I can provide to you.
How much effort did you spend on developing your platform or your systems?
To set everything up at the beginning was a little bit hard, of course, but once we had the whole setup and the connectivity and the integration, it was very easy to use Mendix to rapidly develop the applications together with the business. And yeah, as Manfred already mentioned, it was very nice to sit together with the business people in a meeting, and they have their demands or they want some changes on the current interface, for example, and you can directly do this via the meeting and deploy it within 5 minutes or something like that, and then the employee next to you already has it on his iPad and can use the new application. But it's a little bit hard to say a real, how many days, for example, it took us.
How long did it take to really get the business into an open discussion with you? Because saying you enable the business to talk to development is in terms of, that sounds nice, but reality burns, and reality in this case is business don't want to talk to IT. They don't understand IT. That tool helps, but the question is how long does it take really to get some business owners really into such kind of an open discussion, which is necessary to use those tools.
The problem was at the beginning not the discussion to get the business closer to the IT. The problem was this Deutsch wünsch dir was Konzert. Wish and you get it. And this was the problem at the beginning, because everyone, I have now the IT at my region, and I want to give all my needs and my demands to them, and said, do it. And no.
The management idea about agile.
Correct.
Agile means
Correct.
everything in
Everything
time,
in
in zero time.
Okay. No, we have to get, we stopped everything and said, okay, we have now a closer look. This is our application, this is our Flussdiagramm, and
workflow.
Our workflow, and let's start with this, and then have an open discussion. We have a Scrum methodology. We have 20 story points, which can be used from your side, and we have the capacity of 30, and we use 10 for interaction, for our product development, for integration to SOP Marketing Cloud, for integration to ECC, and so on and so forth. And our business accepts this, because the business owner is not directly as an end user. The business owner is also in a corporate perspective. It means he understands what is the purpose or the role description of a business owner. That was the nice thing, because they accepted it then afterwards.
Thank you.
And also, it was great to see. So they came to us with their demands, of course. They want, for example, to input some data, save them, make an analytics report, whatsoever. And you can simply say to them, okay, you wanted information, come with me. We designed the data model. We can directly and automatically generate, for example, the overview and the detail page. So it was really easy to get it, to get in a discussion with them, because you can, sit with them together, make some drag and drop of elements, and have your application.
Do you have any automated testing, any regression testing? Because it sounds really close programming to me. If you have a request and then you, at the end of the meeting, you have a deployment. So is there any testing that you're doing?
Okay, to be honest, during the meeting we only made some changes, for example, to the layout, add new fields. So we do not, of course, we don't touch the whole business logic behind that. But it's also nice to have the capability to do that. And no, at the moment we don't have automatic testing tools in place. at the moment we have a manual testing procedure.
The problem is also the regression testing is used for bigger apps. For this kind of hybrid form, it's not we do not use regression
But it's
testing.
growing.
It will be growing if we, for example, we are planning to integrate also the stockyard. It's not a big stockyard, but it's a small stockyard, and for this we need definitely regression testing.
Yeah, but the problem is, from my opinion, the more you grow and the
Correct.
time that you need for retesting, regression testing, and also small issues can have great effects.
Definitely.
Testing is, for my opinion, big effort during
Yes.
the development process.
Yes, definitely. And if you learn it at the university, and testing takes more time than the development.
But the nice thing is there's a plugin to do unit tests automatically in the background.
Of course, yeah,
But the issue, as you mentioned before, the issue is not the testing, especially the issue is what are the which systems are integrated and what are the problems in other systems.
alright.
And this is what we have to achieve, and herefore we are going to plan also a testing strategy out of it. But for these applications, anyway, that's only a hybrid form, and if we are starting to get it bigger and get it, because we do not want to get it bigger because we have clearly a microservice approach, but anyway, for different kind of apps we need definitely, especially also in the IoT section, if you only get data out of the machine, that's not an issue, but if you pull data to the machine, then we need definitely regression testing.
We also have microservice background and using it with Mendix, and we know that especially in microservice groups you have web services and communication about API. Testing is really the point.
But we didn't have the focus at the moment because, as we mentioned, we started in July, and we use this tool not for making a code factory out of it. We use this tool for transformation.
I was just impressed with having a meeting, doing a change, and deploy it. It's very much trust in the code.
Definitely, because
But everything worked.
Trust in people. Trust in people.
Yeah.
I have two questions.
Yeah.
The first one, you mentioned that the initial setup was hard.
Mhm.
What was hard about it? Or what made it hard? And the second question, what is the proportion which was made in low or no code and which was involved like real coding?
Mhm. Okay, the initial setup was more or less hard, you could say, because we did not have the SAP Cloud platform in place at all. We only had our different cloud services, we only have our local environment, and now we want to introduce some kind of central platform where we need to integrate each service that is available. We have to integrate the user management, and this took, it took us some days at the beginning.
So Mendix was hard?
No, definitely not Mendix. It was our architecture behind that.
Enterprise architecture, which is ECC. We have 15 years old, no, 20 years old SAP system in place. It's good because we've only one client, but it's still a lot of set code, and to get rid of all the set code and the enterprise architecture out of it, it was very, very, very complicated.
So you replaced code.
No. We defined where we can go into the code to get the APIs out.
Right.
We're not able to do this because this is our path for the S4 transformation.
You had a second question.
And the second
Yeah.
question, what was the proportion like low no code to real code?
We did not have to write any lines of code so far. Yeah, no, we did not write any lines of code. So it was more or less, no code, you could say. I'm not exactly sure what's the difference. So low code, no code. We did not use any code. I mean,
No code means your platform can only do no code, so there's no programming involved at all. There's not even the opportunity, the possibility. And low code is where you can do everything visual, but if you want to, you can extend your capabilities with code or custom modules written in code. Yeah.
I mean, we used some of the plugins from the community marketplace, but we did not have to write any code ourselves.
So how does this change for the developer if they don't have to write any code anymore?
I think that goes back to the organizational mindset also for people who are used to writing code, especially for SAP. You know, if you're used to writing SAP code for years, then changing to something like this will seem like going from Lego Technic to Duplo or something. But I think a lot has to do with mindset. And some developers just like to code because they like code. I think the question you have to ask yourself, what is the purpose? What value are you adding? And how can you do things faster and more efficient with the time you have and with the tools you have available?
And the problem is also our market. In Austria, the market of developers is almost zero.
Okay.
It's not a problem in Austria at all. It's a problem in Europe.
Okay, maybe it's in Europe, but we don't have any developers in place, and we need some kind of alternatives, some strategic alternative where we
Okay.
can build up good documentations, and maybe we can start with this also to scale up a code factory, because we were not able to do a code factory because we don't have the possibility to get such, as you mentioned before, we need a SAP developer, we need the full stack developer, or we need almost a data scientist, we need a kind of UX designer and so on and so forth. And with this tool, we don't need this whole bunch of full FTAs, and this makes the business value.
Okay.
And also the strategic needs, because there are no developer in place.
But I think from a developer point of view, to be honest, in the beginning when I first was introduced to Mendix, I was very skeptical about that, because I only knew how to write code. I didn't know any no-code platform or something like that. And I thought, well, how could you solve, or how can you build such application by simply here drag and drop something around? But to be honest, I'm very, I have seen that it is working, and it is working quite fast and very well. And I have to say I'm impressed that you can do all that development, building the application, building the database, or the data model, data bindings, whatever you need, by simply, drag and drop.
And how is it if you have a bug and you have some bug fixing? How do you do that?
More or less the same as everywhere else. You have your issue, you create a new branch, fix the bug, and then merge it back.
But with no code?
Yeah, with no code.
Okay.
Yeah, so something that you can do, so in the Mendix development environment, the logic is displayed in visually in steps in a flow diagram, or what you want to call it, and you can debug it by saying I'm adding a breakpoint here, and when you run your app, the app will halt, and you can see, you can step through every step and action of your application, see where it's going wrong, both in log lines, but also visually. You can see exactly where in your process things are happening and going wrong.
So the only difference is you don't debug your lines of code, but you simply debug the elements in your workflow.
Yeah.
But it's more or less the same idea.
You're debugging logic. It's
Okay.
just a different way of visualizing it.
Okay.
How far do you plan ahead, and do you maybe see this growing into a more multiple DevOps team structure where you have to like quarterly business value planning or stuff?
Definitely. I want to do the enterprise architecture, and I want to set up a virtual development team in every region. And if I guess Belgium is very fast, I have to set up a full FTE not virtual teams, regional team also there, and also with sure fixes and interaction with the product owners and so on and so forth. Definitely, with the whole governance.
I heard you were working with a agile concept. Are you using a ticket system, or are you using Sprinter?
Sorry?
Are you using a special ticket system, like one of the common products, or are you using the in-house Sprinter?
At the moment, we use the Mendix platform to provide the feedback, and then create the user stories out of that and work with that
But to
functionality.
be honest,
And
for the product development, we're using Jira and Confluence.
Okay. So also for documentation. Interesting. Thank you.
Do you use just the studio or the studio
I use the Studio Pro.
Okay, and how does this early mentioned concept of this citizen developer, does it match in a way to your transformation, or is it a different approach?
I do not call it citizen developer, I call it business owner.
Okay. But you can imagine that the business owner
Definitely.
tweaks their flow,
Yeah.
input fields.
Are they doing that already?
Yes, not the business owner, because they are doing almost strategic topics, but underneath the business owner we have a kind of key user structure, and the business key user, that is all called, it's called the business, the dive report to the business owner, is doing the flows at the moment. Yeah.
But isn't it also a kind of shadow IT?
No, because the responsibility is definitely at the product owner, and the business owner are doing the workflow and so on and so forth, and then the product owner has the responsibility, has the role, and has to approve the code what they are doing.
Yeah.
And that's easier for him because he see the workflow and we see, okay, it works, and then we come to the testing part. How do we do the testing? But it's not defined at the moment.
And the product owner is the owner of the app.
Correct.
Okay, so it's the IT.
The IT department. With the business owner who is feeling the needs and can play around a little bit and try out what is possible, and then bring the demands and can do especially also the workflow, and then the end responsibility is the product owner who is releasing the code.
And you mentioned you were used to writing code before.
Mhm.
What kind of languages did you use before?
Java, JavaScript, yeah, PHP, HTML, Python, C, C#, whatever was needed.
and he's very good at ABAP as well.
ABAP. And so switching to Mendix, what was your biggest surprise?
My biggest surprise was that you can really build the whole logic, the whole interface without to write a single line of code. To simply have your workflow in a visual kind of way, and that this really, how should I call it? This more or less replace your whole code writing, more or less.
Yeah. So something we hear a lot is that developers think they don't have as much control. You know, instead of when you're writing code, you're in control of the code.
Yeah, I mean, it depends. If you use any framework or any programming language that is then compiled, you maybe also don't know what exactly is done in the background. So I trust Mendix that it will do what I told it to do in the best way it can. So
Yeah,
It's just different level of abstraction.
yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
exactly. Yeah, that was
Yeah, because
more the point I was
working-
steering
I was
towards.
starting writing application in assembler, and now I'm going from Fortran, COBOL towards C# and Mendix. So it's
ABAP.
the level is changing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have to bring also the developer into a business value thinking, and not
Yeah.
only doing code, and don't have the cost impact in the back end, but the developer has to think, is this generating a business value, what I'm doing now?
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. I think one of the biggest differences between a classic programmer and a Mendix developer is that Mendix developer needs to know what's happening in the business. He needs to understand what the business needs. And traditional developers are usually just used to having a stack of requirements and sprinting and scrumming and go build it, not necessarily needing to know why, right? It's the product owners who knows that, and the rest can just run. But especially for a Mendix developer, it's really important to understand this, so you can build what the business actually needs.
And the Mendix developer, from my perspective, is not one single person. That's the combination of, in our case, the business owner and the product owner. And if we need would be great if they are doing this on their own. But at the moment, we need a developer like Florian who is doing the code in the backend in the Mendix environment.
I think.
Take 3 questions one by one, so it's easier.
Okay.
So first, coming back to the topic about Mendix developer,
Mhm.
if let's say the most technical person in the team, what is the minimum and what type of technical skills do you think are needed? Not what are yours, but what would be the minimum according to you, so that the same thing that you achieved would have been achieved anyway?
It's hard to say.
So what's the technical profile of the most technical person?
I think it's not some kind of technical profile you need, but it's more or less some kind of mindset you need, because you need to have the idea how to solve the problem. You need to imagine some kind of workflow that will solve your problem. And yeah, I think it mostly has to do with the mindset and how, yeah, if you have an idea of the problem and also an idea, of course, of the solution, and then, yeah, the rest will be done by Mendix, I guess.
And the minimum requirement is openness. That means the business owner, or whatever do we call it, has to be very open, because he has to work together with the product owner. And he's not the guy from the business, and he's saying, hey, you have to do this because I need this for my business and this generates value out of it. No, he has to be very open and say, okay, this is my need, how can we solve this need? And this is the first question. And not to say, this is my need, do it. And this is the mindset.
This comes back to what you said, that you want to be a added value provider,
Correct.
not just implementation team. But let's dig a little bit deeper. What you say basically means that the product owner could have done your job, because this is what you say, not technical.
Definitely. The product owner, yes, because it's on the IT side.
And you wouldn't have needed any, let's say, more technical person. You would have achieved what you achieved already.
Correct.
Then think about your place in this
No,
team.
no, because the purpose of the virtual team is to generate also product owners out of it. That means they develop, for example, the showroom app, and they want to have one product owner responsibility from this virtual team, and to get the ownership of this, what they are going to develop. And this is my purpose of this. Then they have a clear career path. They're starting with a simple developer, a junior developer, become a senior developer or maybe ABAP developer, and then they go into a product ownership. And then they go into this is the clear career path. And then from the product ownership they go into a solution owner role.
So second question is, with all those tools that actually do this abstraction on a high level and allow you to automate application development, one of the biggest challenges usually is when you need to do something more custom and you are within a framework. So did you need to make any compromise with what you want to achieve with some functionality, for example, or what look and feel or something? But because of how Mendix is driving things, you couldn't do it exactly this way, but it was alright. So any compromises?
No, to be honest, there was no problem that we couldn't solve anything like we wanted to do. And even if there was a problem, you could always write your own Java code. You could always write your HTML and JavaScript code. So you have the possibility to do that, but most of the time you won't need it.
And then, therefore, we need not the product owner, we need the developer.
And the last question is, now that you already have gone through a project or a couple of projects with Mendix, so you are kind of experienced. If you could have go back now, would you have done something different? So do you have lessons learned about something more optimal in a way?
Yeah, I mean, I'm as a developer definitely have learned something. It has mostly to do with how to structure the project, how to set up the microflows, when to use a sub-microflow, so how to build up everything and the architecture and hierarchy behind that. For example, when do we want to create a new module to organize your microflows and the data model? When does it make sense to have one big module where everything is maintained, for example? Do we want to create different microservices that are more or less connected for one application, or do we really only use one application because we don't need one microservice for each entity we have within the application? So I think it's the most lessons learned are on the structural and the hierarchy side, or the architecture. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm curious, when you really mean one app per microservice, or do you have one bigger app where you have small services?
In the showroom application, for example, this is only one application, so one Mendix project, you could say. But of course, there we have the different modules where we more or less separate the functionality a little bit more. And then also, of course, we have on the local environment, for example, in the SAP system, some, the function calls and so on. So we have some services there.
Yeah, but the naming, you're often using the word microservice.
Yep.
How you define it? So really one Mendix app is for you a microservice?
A microservice would be some application or some project, however you want to call it. This is really only there to maintain one single entity, for example. So the smallest functionality you need to maintain a certain part of your application, for example. And now, like I said, we only have one project where we structured everything with the modules. But of course, if we grow and if we need more application, it doesn't make sense to copy and paste these modules. And then, of course, it would make sense to create a new application, you could say, which we deploy, which maintain, for example, invoices or something like that. And then the other applications simply use the interfaces we provide within this microservice. And
therefore, for the architecture perspective, we are planning to have one API layer where we can use different kind of API services from the backend and from the front end, from the customer side and also from the backend side, from the office side.
Okay, cool. Maybe we can talk later a bit more.
Because we have a very big, in the past we generated a very big monolith, which is the web platform integrated with the BIM technology, integrated with the production side, MII, integrated with ACC, integrated with customer, with the CRM system. And if you change one single change in this whole environment, that's not possible to get to know what's happened in the other systems.
Right.
And we have to get rid of this, then get into transformation and bring this kind of monolith into a kind of microservice structure.
And that's a good point. I think on Mendix World it was a topic that Mendix is going more to a strategy to have microservice first, I can say it. And it's interesting to talk about this,
Sure.
this kind of thing, what's your way how to do it.
That's correct, and what Georg also mentioned in the first presentation is that the data hub that we'll be launching in 2020 will also take away part of that. So it won't replace microservices, but it will play a very big part in that part of the architecture.
How did you learn all of this? Because usually,
by doing it.
You do Java coding,
Yeah.
you need to know something, you go to a bookstore, buy a book about Java. There are unlimited amounts of them, but there's nothing like this for Mendix.
Yeah, I simply used the e-learning provided by Mendix. I started with the basic tutorials they provided, and then you can specialize based on if you do UI, work on the UI or work on the backend, the database, whatsoever. And yeah, most of the time I only use that. Then of course the community as well. And then yeah, I simply tried.
And using forum?
Yeah, sometimes.
Okay, cool.
Are you using Slack?
Not at the moment.
Do you use something like an integration platform or an ESP or something to prepare data and send that to Mendix apps? Or?
We have an integration, we have a lot of integration layers, but from the SAP side we have the Cloud Connector and then the how is it called now? Integration services.
Cloud platform integration?
Yeah, I don't know how it's the correct word in SAP.
It changes
this is the
every few weeks.
main topic here in this environment.
A question to the colleague. Do you hear the vendor lock-in? Like in 2 years you decide everybody is transformed, everybody has digital mindset, we don't need Mendix anymore. What do we do with 100 apps we built on it?
I don't understand the question now.
Whether
In
it
2
was
years you will.
To be honest, I really don't
whether you had this kind of thinking about what happens next, or what you're gonna do if you're not gonna stay with Mendix forever. Was at all in your consideration whether to aside from Mendix at all? And whether for you it's a real concern that eventually you will kind of terminate the contract, and what do you do with the apps?
To be honest, no idea, but the apps will exist. And if we, I have no idea. Sorry.
So from a Mendix perspective, you can always, you're always in full control and ownership of your data and information. So whether you choose to go to another platform or a completely different language or whatever it is, you can always get your code and your source code from out of the system. And we have something called an SDK, a model SDK and a platform SDK that lets you programmatically get everything out of the system that you want in any form or language that you want. So we make that very easy should you choose to do that, which I hope you don't. But yeah.
So basically it will be possible to run forecasting tools somewhere else. Okay.
Yeah.
Because the development, the deployment is on the subcloud platform, and there's nothing to do with the it's our platform.
It's still if I understand correctly, it's still a Mendix platform in SAP's cloud.
No.
So,
No.
this is my understanding.
Is this true?
Sorry.
Tell me, it's true or not?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yeah, my understanding is the runtime. I think window login concern is based on the runtime environment. The runtime environment, from my understanding, in the SAP Cloud Platform is also Mendix runtime platform. The question would be, if this is true, the question would be, if it's possible, if Mendix runtime platform disappears, you run it simply on another platform.
I mean, you can deploy your application wherever you like, more or less. I mean, there are some you need. Maybe you can tell a little bit more about that.
I think I understand what you mean. You can only run a Mendix app on a Mendix runtime. That's correct.
Okay.
But you can choose whichever cloud platform that is. That's up to you, AWS or.
No,
yeah.
not the
No,
question.
Yeah.
That's not the question.
almost
you have a lot of
the
choice of cloud provider,
Mhm.
but in the cloud provider itself, you need the Mendix
Correct.
stack.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's
This is the-
correct.
That's the Windows
That's right.
login situation.
Okay.
But you could export it out of Mendix using this SDK and then
Yeah.
run it on wherever you want.
Then you don't need the runtime.
You still need the runtime.
No.
Okay.
Afterwards, no.
Does this export only work one way, or can you also import code?
You can also import. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So
Export,
that
import.
would create a Mendix workflow. Or
You can build a complete app with a script using the model SDK. Yeah,
Okay.
platform SDK. Whatever you want.
And you have actually the runtime, it's always installed locally if you use Studio Pro, the low-code developing IDE, you basically have your runtime installed on a Windows machine.
Yeah.
You can even deploy the app in a Docker container locally. Keep
Well,
it there
that's
until you
some kind of
migrate it
licensing,
away.
licensing issue maybe.
But thank you for the question. I didn't thought about this this topic before.
Could you imagine from the developer's perspective to go back?
To go back
To-
to code.
Yes.
Yes,
I mean-
yes, because we had.
I asked the developer.
Okay.
Were you a developer at some point?
Okay.
Of course, I still have to write code in other projects because I'm not only developing in Mendix at the moment. But I don't think that there's any reason that I have to don't use Mendix in the future and go back to writing code. Except, of course, there's a project where I have to do that. But
So,
if it's possible to do with
Would you
Mendix,
choose a
Mendix,
project?
I think, definitely. Yeah.
so 4 out of 5 days you're longing for that one day.
No, but definitely we have existing applications in place which are still on the gateway, and we have to bring this kind of applications directly into the subcloud platform as a platform approach. And we have, for example, a digital stockyard app which is developed in the gateway on the developed in JavaScript, and we take the code, bring it to the platform. It makes no sense to use Mendix because
We already have the application, so we would have to rebuild that. Is this answering your question? Or? Okay.
So, sorry. go ahead.
Have you already played around with the Java actions in Mendix?
Not very much at the moment.
Okay, awesome.
So something that I think is important to say is that with Mendix, we don't try to replace every single thing that you have in your landscape. We don't try to replace your servers or your other code or whatever it is. You need to use Mendix where it helps your business. And if that means running an SAP Cloud or writing code in ABAP and doing integrations, then that's what you have to do. So I want to make that very clear, because we often get that question like, oh, so it means we have to get rid of everything. We have to change all the developers to Mendix developers. No, you don't, unless you think that is the best choice for your business, which only you can judge for yourself. Just wanted to make sure I said that.
Hashtag disclaimer.
Hashtag disclaimer. Well, yeah, because you know, it's often the case that people think, oh, they're coming with a new platform, so everyone needs to change, and everyone now needs to go Mendix or whatever it is. Well, sure, that'd be interesting, but would it actually help your business? That's the question you need to ask. You need to be very honest in that.
And there was
That's a
also
very, that's a very fair point, and I really appreciate it. Can we get a little bit deeper? So it would be great if you can give us the two extremes. So in your experience, what have you seen at scale for other clients? Because those are like 3 months endeavor so far. That really benefited a lot from Mendix. And also the other extreme, what are cases that are clearly not a good fit for Mendix?
So a case, there's a couple of cases, but one is, for example, an energy company in the Netherlands called Enexis. I think they have 2,600 employees, and they have, I think now more than 80 production apps in Mendix. But their whole development team is no more than 10 people. And they, whenever needed on a consultancy basis, they use consultants and Mendix experts from some of our partners. But the core development team, I think at the moment it's 6 with 3 or 4 people in training. They run a landscape of 80 plus production applications. So that's a very big success. Most of the times when a Mendix project is not successful, it has a lot to do with the mindset within the organization, where one department says, whether it's the business or the IT, it doesn't really matter. They say, we're going to use this, and people are being forced to use this when the way the company is being run is not prepared for that. Either it's too fast, or people need to be reschooled, people don't want to. So it has more to do with organizational mindset and being ready for this type of change, because it is a lot of change if you want to use a platform like this, if you've never done so before. And I think that goes back to Manfred's point as well, is start with the organizational mindset. Make sure that everyone is aligned on how you want to run your business, what your goals are, and how you want to execute that, how you want to get there. I think that's the number one thing to keep in mind.
And I will not force the business, for example, if they are directly in the waterfall methodology, in the application that still exists, to force them to go into a Mendix platform. That means ABAP development or HANA development will be not at the beginning in Mendix, because we have good ABAP developer that did their code, that they know exactly the functions, which is pricing calculations or stuff like that. And this is no case to do this in Mendix.
Yeah.
So do you think some kind of agile methodology like Scrum is a prerequisite for success?
I mean, how you achieve the results is completely up to your team. If Scrum works for your team, use it. It's exactly the same answer as before about Mendix itself.
Yeah.
If Scrum Agile, if you can make sure that works with your team, use it. And Mendix is the perfect platform to use that with, because of the application lifecycle. But if you have a different method of developing an application or developing a landscape, and and it works, keep using that. I do think that it does make it easier, yeah, if you're already familiar with Scrum and Agile.
I also understood the question in a way, what is not a good use case for Mendix? So from my understanding, I would see a integration project or let's say API as product is not the target for Mendix. Is that right? Because I also understood the question.
Yeah, that was it. And basically what the colleague mentioned was more general about any IT project, I would say, as challenges. But I just don't want to hijack the discussion. So.
Okay. Well, sorry, your example was, what is it not?
For example, you say API is an application, right? So some businesses treat APIs, so their business is an API. Would that be also a use case for Mendix to provide APIs because for me at the moment it's a little bit into a UI, right? So an application is
right.
So is that also
a
sweet spot or?
So it's an interesting question because yes, but you would it would be a shame of the license because you would use only a very small part of the possibilities of the platform. So yeah, sure, you could. It's in the same way some people say, oh, it's a prototyping tool. Well, it's definitely not a prototyping tool. You can use it as a prototyping tool, but that would be a waste of a license because you're missing out on all the other functionalities. And it's not one thing or the other. It's the complete life cycle. That's where the power is, that you have and your requirements and your development and your monitoring and your deployment in one package, with the possibility of still using and integrating with whatever your landscape currently looks like.
Yeah, so maybe I have in mind the whole PSD2 stuff happening to the banks at the moment, where they had to open up, and the result, the application, the product is a bunch of APIs, which then could be used from the outside, but there is no really UI to it because the UI is delivered by the TPPs or so. So to the third-party providers, they are using the APIs.
Yeah. So
that would be, from my perspective, the extreme of if that is the right tool for it.
You can, yeah. I mean, there is an example of a customer who did that in the Netherlands. So they started out trying to build everything in the one tool, but some people wanted to use some other technologies, some other front-end technologies, and yeah, you can do that. So they built the front end in another language, another tool, and they used Mendix as a data source. Yeah, you can.
Maybe the slightly modified question is, in this case, just as you said, a company in the Netherlands did it, were there benefits as compared to like mainstream ESB development or API layer development? Because for UI it's more or less clear, so you build things with drag and drop and things like this. But was the development of this API quicker, more easier, whatever done if you just do it with mainstream tools?
Yes, it was much easier to integrate with, and it's built completely on open standards, and yeah, building it, publishing it, updating it, and changing, making any sort of changes is super fast.
Do you have some case studies about such projects online?
Yeah, we do. I can share that with you afterwards if you like. Yeah.
Are there any other questions?
Yeah, we've only had like 3.
There's the beer.
Right. Thank you very much.